So, what do we learn? Well, for one thing, we've established a vital strain of realism running all the way through Spielberg's work. A sense of heightened realism is the thing that unites such disparate efforts as both Jaws on the one hand and Schindler's List on the other. And if we feel, like a lot of us probably do, that some part of Spielberg is almost synonymous with cinema itself, then that may well be because realism is also inscribed into the very nature of the art form. Film is made, at least photographic film, by capturing reality. And in any case, I think that the extraordinary energy we feel in Spielberg's films derives from a conviction in this essential realism of cinema, and the supreme staging he showcases is designed around that conviction. He tends to save his longest and most intricate takes for his most spectacular effects to impress the reality of them, as it were. But how then do we reconcile the fantasist Spielberg with a realist? The point is, I think, yet again, the contrast of a close attention to the real world with the intrusion into that world of a fundamentally alien force. The everyday has to feel almost overbearingly ordinary for the intrusion of the spectacular to have any force at all. This creates a duality or mirroring in Spielberg himself. The familiarity of the real world reinforces the spectacle of the fantasy, and the fantasy in turn grounds the familiarity of the real world. This can work the other way around as well. The rough texture of E.T. can almost strike one as an instance of gritty realism, while the suburban childhood home can seem like the otherworldly fantasy. This goes for the direction too. It's not so much the shark that's the special effect, it's the sea, and Richard Dreyfuss has this wonderful thing to say.
I was hired in those days, seriously, because I had the ability to go, and there was nothing there.
That's really the point. It's not so much the alien that's the special effect, or the dinosaur. It's the look on Dreyfuss's face, or Sam Neill's, that's the true special effect. Jeff Goldblum describes being directed by Spielberg, and it demonstrates the care Spielberg takes in shaping the very expression on a person's face.
And we did close-ups, and I remember he'd never rehearse. Ready, Jeff? Okay, there you are. You're seeing the dinosaur. Oh my gosh, just keep rolling.
That looks great.
You're looking at it. You can't believe what you're seeing. Is it real? It now strikes you funny. You don't even know why. And he's just talking me through it, and I'm kind of acting.
Tom Hiddleston describes another instance of this sculpting of the face.
Stephen gave me the most amazing note, actually. He said, give me your war face, and the camera's gonna move across, and as you feel it come up in front of you, I want you to de-age yourself by 20 years. So you're 29, and then when you see those machine guns, you're 9 years old. I want to see the child in you.
That realization of the need for a human response to unreal spectacle is what makes Spielberg one of the finest of all cinematic fantasists. J.J. Abrams, one of the more successful of Spielberg's disciples, sums it up pretty well.
You're not supposed to rip off the shark or the monster. You gotta rip off, if you're gonna rip something off, rip off the character.
So that's the fantasy side of Spielberg, while the realism side of Spielberg finds a way of subverting cinematic techniques in themselves for the aim of achieving an illusion of even greater reality. So the duality between the demands of realism and the freedom of fantasy is the tension that generates what is, to my mind, still the most energetic and vigorous American filmmaking of our time. If you don't believe me, first listen to a young master, Ari Aster.
And I was on like an anti-Spielberg kick, which is a very it's a trap, I think, you get into when you're young, and then you get older, and it's like, oh, actually, Spielberg's the greatest ever. That's where I stand now. Spielberg is just as good as it gets.
And then listen to an old one, Sidney Lumet.
Because he's such a commercial success, people tend to denigrate Spielberg. I think he's maybe the best American director.
Spielberg belongs in that luminous company, and he kind of always did, even before we realized it.